came in after I came out of prison and I was elected president. What I found left in reserve was $3.7 billion. $3.7 billion. And we had to spend.
States or Nigeria?
For Nigeria.
Okay.
And we had to spend $3.5 billion to service debt. And the quantum of debt was not going down. So it's unacceptable. And I remember one of my ministers, a minister for agriculture, Bello, whose background was banking. When we got debt relief, what he said to me, I will come back to that. Mm-hmm. But before I was sworn in, the military head of state then, General Absalami Abubakar, gave me a plane and said, look, you have said you wanted to visit those who were kind to you when you were in prison. You can go on and visit them. So I went out. I visited most of the important capitals, London, Paris, Washington, and I was thanking people. And then I went to Wolfenson, who was then the president of World Bank.
Yes, sir.
And I said, Jim, all I want you to do for us is how we can get debt relief. And he said to me, look, that will have to be done by you. But if you are doing what is right, the World Bank will write a good report about you. That's all that the World Bank can do. I said, okay, that was good enough. So I decided to do this eyeball to eyeball diplomacy. And I will go to them and they will listen to me. They will say, oh, you have a good case. Went to all our major creditors, America, France, Japan, UK, and I got the same thing. After 4 years, I didn't get anything. But I get good talk anytime I talk to them. So after my first term, I went to Jim. I said, Jim, I came to see you. You agreed that you haven't done anything. He said, what more do you want me to do? You are doing well, and we are writing good report about you. That's all I can do. I said, okay, all right. He said, but you have to hold your creditors. They are the ones who can do something about your situation. I said, thank you. Then, of course, Ngozi had come to work with me for 6 months by then. So I turned to him. I said, look, can you give me your girl? He said, and I said, look, 3 things I'm asking for. Give me your girl, pay her salary, and then when she finishes with me, give her her job back. And he said, well, if you want her, I will release her to you. But if you give her a technical job, we will pay her salary. If you give her a political job, we will not pay her salary. And he said the day he leaves her job, somebody else takes over. But if she comes back and you have favorable report about her, well, we will give her appropriate job. So I then said to him, well, if I give her a technical job, she will not be as effective as I want her to be. Because she will go out and say, I am advisor to president. But if she goes out and said, I am minister, he said, if you make her a minister, we are not going to pay her salary. So I have the first problem. And I wanted her because she understood the international financial situation and the how it works, who should be talked to. So I then called on UNDP. I said, I have this problem, not because of our salary, but because of our children who are in Ivy League universities. And of course, the World Bank pays the school fee of their staff in school. We couldn't afford that. So I went to UNDP, and UNDP said, okay, look, what we want you to do is this. Put $100,000 in an account. We will match it with another $100,000, and we will pay the salary of whoever you want to pay. So two of them, Ngozi and Ambassador Adeniji, who was my minister for foreign affairs, who I brought back from an assignment, a UN assignment. And that was what was done. So, and what were we doing? Now, those people, I call them people who make things happen. The ministers, the director generals, what you would call permanent secretaries. So they are the ones who will write memo. Normally, it doesn't go from top down. It comes from bottom up. But what I was doing, I was going around trying to get it from top down. So after I've spoken to presidents and prime ministers, well, they don't come, they don't call the ministers and director general, give them instruction. So now I've got a person who, when I'm talking to the head of state, he will be talking to those who make things happen, ministers and director general. And that's what happened. So I remember on one occasion I was talking to President Chirac, so rest in peace. And I asked Ngozi not to leave his minister. So I was with our High Commissioner in London, Ambassador Christopher Kolade, and I was using his telephone. Ambassador Kolade, we always say, I used his telephone and I didn't pay for it, jokingly. And I said, but I use your telephone for only 10 minutes. He said, no, he has record. I use it for more than an hour. But that is the sort of thing on a serious note. And I was engaged with President Chirac. I wanted him, and Ngozi was engaged with his minister And it's either his minister will get in touch with him and say, hey, this lady has not allowed me to have peace, or the president will get in touch with his minister and say, well, I understand the uh, Minister of Finance of Nigeria. And that's what we did. And eventually, we got Britain under Gordon Brown
Wow.
to actually take on board Nigeria's debt
Wow.
among the G6 then.
Okay.
G6 then,
Wow.
because Russia hasn't been fully part of them. And that is the way. So the eyeball to eyeball diplomacy or shuttle diplomacy or whatever way you call it, for me, I believe very much in it.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Flowing from there, eyeball to eyeball diplomacy to achieve results with that, there's also a need, from what you've just said, there's also a need to have to strategically headhunt the individuals that would achieve this objective for the desired outcome. As a leader, you have to be decisive about that in headhunting the individuals that you want and can achieve the desired results. That was why you took your time to go to World Bank, to second, yes, and also the foreign minister, back then. So looking at that experience and now, where Nigeria is now and some African countries, do we need to be decisive, to be aggressive about debt relief, or still progressively be seeking for?
I don't know what you mean by decisive and aggressive. If less than 20 years ago, we got the debt relief of almost $20 billion. And then we paid about $12.5 billion. And the quantum of our debt was reduced from $36 billion to $3.6 billion. And now, within less than 15 years, we are where we are now. Well, if I were your creditor, I would say, we did this before. What did you do with it?
Wow.
It won't be very easy at all. But I will only say, whoever wants to do it, I will wish him or her the best of, not Nigerian law, I will say African law.
Best of African law. Your Excellency, thank you for that. Before I come back to the next question, I want to encourage the global participants. If you have questions and comments for His Excellency, President Olusegun Obasanjo, obviously this is an interactive session. You can drop the questions in the comment box. We would get it, we'll share the questions with him here. And trust His Excellency, he would respond. But I want to encourage that you make your questions civil, and we'll see how to share as a number of questions here before we round up. Your Excellency, flowing from the debt relief in terms of the economy, I want us to look at the private sector development. You were decisive. Your administration strongly encouraged the private sector in stimulating growth and development, which extended even to promoting African investors, among others. I want you to help us here, because there is a school of thought that believes that most African leaders promote a certain segment of the private sector for their personal interest along the line and not for national interest, based on the outcomes of this investments or outcomes of this private sector involvement, more or less promoting a section of the society that would be beneficial to the leader at the end of the day, rather than for national interest that would be beneficial for the entire country. Please help us here. When deciding on private sector involvement in the economy, driving the growth and development, what are those factors you put in place?
Thank you very much. Look, one of my greatest friends in the international arena was the late Helmut Schmidt, the former Chancellor of Western Germany. He loved me greatly, and I loved him greatly. And every time we talk about leadership, he will say to me, Olu, your leaders in Africa must have understanding knowledge of economics. Understanding knowledge of economics. You see, creating jobs is not the responsibility directly of government. It's for government to produce what I call the conducive, enabling environment. Because if where you have one clerk in a government office, you put a second clerk, one is redundant. And you have not really meaningfully created job. You have created redundancy. So you have to understand that. And saying, how do you go about it? Let's take just one example, and you can take any other example. One day, I didn't sleep too well. And normally, I call anybody any time of the night or the day. And I didn't sleep too well because I was worried about the amount of cement we were importing. And I look, we started producing cement as far back as 1956 or so. The Egyptians, the Turkish people, they were only a few years ahead of us. They were net exporter, and we were still importing heavily. So at about 5 a.m., I phoned Aliko Dangote. I said, Aliko, I want you to come and see me. He said, what time? I said, 7 o'clock in the morning.
And this was 5 a.m.?
This was 5 a.m. And Aliko, naughty boy, said, look, it is bad enough that you woke me up at 5 a.m. It is bad enough that you woke me up at 5 a.m. But to ask me to see you at 7 a.m. when you are in Abuja and I'm in Lagos, that's asking for the impossible. Oh, I say, okay. I have no apologies for waking you up. I have problems that I want to solve. But what time can you see me in Abuja? And he said, about 9 a.m. That's okay. So he came in at 9 a.m. And I said, Aliko, answer my question. Why do you import cement rather than produce cement? The raw material for producing cement is almost everywhere. Limestone, that's the main raw material. He said, you want an honest answer? I said, yes, I want an honest answer, of course. He said, because it's more profitable for me to import cement and sell in Nigeria than to produce cement, which is, of course, an honest answer. I said, okay, Aliko, what do I have to do to make you produce cement instead of you importing cement? Now, he said, that's simple. Make it as profitable for me to produce cement as it is for me to import cement and sell. I still haven't got the answer for what I want, what I should do. So then I say, how is that? He said, tie my importation of cement with my production of cement. My head then got it there. And then I say, well, you can go. Then I called my minister of Trade and Industry, Jamudu, who also came from the private sector. And I said, look, Minister, I've just had this meeting with Aliko, and this and this. So can we work something out? I said, yes, of course. And then he worked it out. And then it became a policy. And I believe because Aliko knew how it all started and all that, Aliko went for 5 million tons of cement production at the first instance. And anytime I talk about this with Aliko nowadays, I say, Aliko, you are greedy. And he will say, if you give me the same opportunity again, I will be greedier. And that's what happened. So Aliko went, Obajana. I will tell you another story. I was watching that development almost on hourly basis. So any day he employed Julius Baja to do good the civil work and all that. And they're good people. So the day Julius Baja failed to work, I will hear the information, the report. And I will call Aliko and say, hey, Julius Baja didn't work yesterday. What happened? So one day, Aliko came to me and said, look, I'm getting worried about you. This project is not government project. And you are not even allowing me to rest. The day Julius Baja didn't work, I said, yes. It is not government project, but it's Nigerian project. Today, Aliko alone can supply all the cement we need in Nigeria. Not only that, he can also supply the cement that some of the countries that he has established cement factory will need. Senegal, Ethiopia, Tanzania, I think he has got something in South Africa too. But this is the way.
In essence, Your Excellency, what you're saying is that you are not a leader or a president should not only encourage or develop a private sector player to develop the system, the economy, but they also have to put their eyes.
No, you have to help them. It's not enough just to say, hey, go and do it. You have to help them. Whatever they need to achieve
The objective.
the objective, you have to help them. And I say this, look, if a Nigerian in the private sector makes money, what can he do? Provided the money is in Nigeria, what can he do? The worst, he will marry more wives. Now, it's helping to solve it's helping to solve Nigerian social Nigerian social problem. Because the extra wife he marries, he will look after them, he will look after their family, and so why don't I encourage?
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for that light note. I mean, questions are coming in from Fritz, Professor Joy, and Dr. Iwu. I'm going to take those questions, but before I take the questions, I need to ask His Excellency this. We're coming domestic now. We're coming back home. Nigeria is on a great momentum towards the elections in a few weeks, and you've openly given an advice, an encouragement on the direction in which the youths and Nigerians should look towards in terms of leadership for Nigeria, among other things. But then before responding, digging into that, what drives the motivation, Your Excellency, to write open letters to candidates that you may have supported to become president? Is it as a result of the failure of back channel counsel behind the scene, or the inaccessibility to them at some point? What's the drive for the open letters, sir?
Well, I will talk about open letters, but let me the issue of policy that we are going to leave. You know, I was jokingly saying to people the other day, as when I was in government, my ambition was to create 50 Nigerian billionaires, and that, of course, there was no Nigerian billionaire before then, and that I failed. I think I probably created about 40, which was 80% of my ambition.
40, you tried, Your Excellency.
But
it's still a pass mark.
No. Well, that's outstanding.
Outstanding. 80 is a pass mark, Your Excellency.
Yeah, but I haven't even stopped because I'm still.
You are still on that trajectory. Producing more.
I'm still going. But on this very serious note,
yes,
there was nobody among these people that I gave a dime. We created policy, and they took advantage of the policy. That's all. I did not give Aliko one dime. He didn't give me one share in his cement factory. I don't need it. But we created policy, we devised policy, and they took advantage of that. Now, that to me is what government should be all about. Get the right policy and encourage people to take care of, just
take advantage of it.
Take advantage of the policy. Yes. And now the private sector will not equalize. They will make and develop. Government policy also should be to equalize.
Okay.
Now Now let me come to
Open letters.
open letter. There's no leader that has come after me that I have not gone quietly to. And when I was president,